Okay, what do we have here? No, I'm not going to be making burritos in the lamb mold. Okay, yeah, I'm starting early again because I've got prep work to do. For starters, putting together some burrito seasoning, and I figure I should do that before 8 o'clock. So let us start with 1 teaspoon salt. Then I'll have to do some more seasoning for refried beans. Fool that I am, I'm going to make refried beans from scratch. All right, let me see. 3/4 of a teaspoon of chili powder. Here's my. I know I just had it. Oh, here it is, hiding behind the garlic. Oh, oh, this is brand new. Nice. Okay, about 3/4. In other words, 3 1/4 of chili powder. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm determined to start at 8 this time because the last couple of weeks have unfortunately been delayed, and I don't want that to happen again. All right, half a teaspoon of coriander. Bought it in bulk at an Indian store. All right, coriander, half a teaspoon. Yeah, there's a spice market in my town, Middle Eastern spice market. That's pretty darn good. And of course, they only have the some spices like coriander or ginger in sizes of huge, enormous, and gigantic. Okay, half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Okay. 3/4 of a teaspoon of cumin. Cumin and chili powder always seem to go together. All right, here's the 1/4 again. 1, 2, 3. Good evening, JR Finishes and Pat Z and Val's Black Cat. Val's Black Cat's Rule. Like I said, I'm intentionally starting a little early tonight. No big deal. Now 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne, because this is the boring part, the prep work. That was a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. Remember the time I tried to make pesto and it called for something like 3/4 of a cup of basil, and I use 3/4 of a cup of dried basil. Yeah, let's suffice to say that didn't really work. And a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Black pepper. Staring me in the face. I know it's staring me in the face. Yeah, see, it was staring me in the face. Okay. All right, there we go. Here is our burrito seasoning. That was easy enough. And next is refried bean seasoning. And for that matter, I got to start heating up the pan too for the beans. I'm kind of cheating. I'm using canned pinto beans. I didn't soak them myself. largely because I had the idea to do this maybe this afternoon or so. So I didn't have time to soak the beans from scratch. All right, where was that? Da-da-da-da-dum. I just saw it too. Refried bean recipe. Go. Oh, here's a promising one. Tastes better from scratch. 380 reviews. So, got the beans. Make refried beans. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I know what they say about recipe blogs. You have to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling until you actually get to the recipe. Oh, come on. Where the... Just giving me a blank screen. Oh, there it goes. All right, pinto beans, onion, lard, oil. Well, this one's nice and easy. Garlic, minced garlic, salt, ground cumin. Come on, close the stupid pop-up ads. And oregano. Okay, no problem. Think we're good in that case. Da-da-da-da-dum. On the other hand, it specifically mentions lard. So let's dig out the lard, shall we? Here it is. Oh, and here's the whatever it is, the ground beef. On the other hand, before we do this, need to drain these beans and supposedly reserve the water. So we will do that. Well, juice anyway, because these are canned beans. And again, this is why I started early. Okay. This aside. Close this. Can opener. Yeah, because this is the boring stuff. Actually, why waste the colander? You can do it the easy way. Can't be that much bean water. There we go. Probably easier this way. Hope everyone's doing good and staying warm. Yes, definitely, Kimberly Miller. I use a pressure cooker for dry beans. I actually don't have a pressure cooker. I have several Dutch ovens, but I don't have a pressure cooker. Because a cast iron pressure cooker is dangerous. And no one should have one of those. Why? Because they can explode. No one appears to be staying warm in the Northeast. Well, I'm doing pretty good here. The temperature was in the single digits this morning, and right now I think we're only at like about 20 degrees or so. But I was able to shovel my sidewalk and my driveway yesterday. So it's nice and clear today. We're supposed to get more snow tomorrow and still more snow on Friday, though apparently it won't amount to as much as we had yesterday. There we go. Oops, I almost spilled this seasoning. What I get for... Okay. I haven't even chopped up my tomatoes. Well, I'll do that a little later. There will be time. All right. So that beans come in a regular and half a cup of bean water. Okay, so be it. There's one. Where did I just put the other? Ugh, my bad. I've got too much of a mess here. Okay, here's one. Oh, and here's the other right in front of me. All right. Beans. Okay, that means it's time to focus on the stove as we get ready. Try this direction, shall we? There we go. That's pretty good. Gives us a view of everything here. This isn't too bright. What would it be like if I turn this light off? Doesn't help much. Okay. All right. And finally, need two things: the masher and okay, here's a spoon. Okay. And the recipe doesn't say anything about, oh, good grief. Why did this stupid thing scroll to the top? And, all right. Well, it is time. Okay, beans. Okay. All right, here we go. Here's the lard. And with that, as they say, away we go. Hi there. Welcome, everybody, to Cast Iron Wednesday at last, one that started on time here in 2024. This, of course, has been an ongoing tradition with quite a few cooking channels here on YouTube, where, of course, we do just that. Namely, we do a cast iron video on Wednesdays because it's a lot of fun, and it is certainly something that, well, helps us to create content. But more importantly, in my case, it's helped me to meet all of you folks, and I am quite happy with that because we've been doing this now for more than 3 years, going on 3.5 years, enjoying our cast iron here on Wednesday, and that's how we're starting out right now. Let me turn this up a little bit, in fact, as we get ready to make some refried beans, which is the first step in making burritos, as our title says here tonight. So, yes, hello, everybody. Hello has been kind enough to show up tonight. Hello, R.T. Scott, Louis J. Cast Iron Cooking, Corey Clark. It's been snowing for the last 4 days. Our roads and highways are closed. Oh, my condolences. Hello, Rocket Caber and Doety Man, if I'm pronouncing that right. Hello, Cynthia Wesley, and you're back. And likewise, hello, John S. Let's talk about Butter Pat. Have they been purchased by Yeti? My understanding is no. They simply contracted with Butter Pat to make their Yeti skillet. I mean, Yeti did not outright buy the company, as far as I know. So, and hello, Marilyn Lenhart and Doety Man again. Had tacos tonight. Well, why not? Any night is a good night for tacos. And Pat Z and Handsome Stone eating oven barbecue chicken and BS&R shallow fish fryer. Nice. They did buy them? Really? Okay, well, that's news to me. I didn't know that Yeti actually bought Butter Pat, which is interesting. Maybe that's the reason why they did their thing in the first place. But hey, let's get started. Whoops. Yeah, that's right. All right, so we've done this. And a little bit more. Yes, indeed. As I said, we're starting out making our burritos tonight by making some refried beans because, as I found out, this stuff is actually pretty easy to make. So I figured we might as well do as much from scratch as possible. I've always been curious about why they call it refried beans when essentially what these things are mashed beans. In that we're going to be cooking these until they're nice and soft, and then just that, we're just simply going to mash them down. All right. Where is the amount here? I'm supposed to add minced garlic. Oh, I'm still trying to find this silly recipe here in this site here that has a whole bunch of pop-ups, and I'm not really having a lot of luck. As you can see, it ends up with a blank screen. Close that. Uh, this is what I get for not digging up my own recipe. Homemade refried beans. Suddenly we're at the top again. Okay, nice, except all I see is some blank space here. And it's got to be around here somewhere. I mean, I was just looking at it earlier. Mash and serve. Okay. So how about telling me? Yeah, I know. Here's another picture again. Okay, adaptations. Oh, good grief. If I don't have this in a few seconds, I'm going to go and find another recipe. Yeah, you can also follow me. Recipe. Finally. Okay, email this recipe. Oh, you know what they say about recipe blogs? Oh, man, and this is certainly turning out to be the truth. Finally, at last. Okay, good. And I have done the lard and oil. Now we're supposed to do about 3 cloves of minced garlic. So since it's not exactly it's not that specific. Let's throw in 1, 2, 3. And then from there, let's also throw in, mentions 1 large onion quartered. Well, actually, I made sure I had more than enough onions here, so we don't need to use all of this. So we'll just throw in about this much. Start mixing it together, and pretty soon we will have our refried beans. As I mentioned in the description of this video, again, this is going to be another night for doing a lot of stuff with Birmingham Stove Range, which is probably my favorite vintage cast iron pan. I've managed to acquire a number of pans from this great American but sadly gone manufacturer. And what we're cooking in here, in fact, is the pan that I call Lightning. This is my number 7 size handwritten BS&R skillet, which I figured would be big enough to make these beans. Over here on the other side, we have a couple of other pans that we'll be using tonight. One of which will be to just cook up some ground beef for the burritos, and one for the tortillas. This is a BS&R square skillet Century Series, and this is one of my other kitchen workhorses, and that is the BS&R number 8 Red Mountain Pan, which is also, again, one of my favorites here. I figure this, okay, if I understand right, I'm supposed to, once these things start to soften, then I start adding in the bean water bit by bit, because we've got to get this stuff soft enough to mash. I'm surprised it doesn't say to cover it with a lid, but it actually doesn't. Yeah, onions and everything, pretty much, yes. Louis J, yes, I did hear the news. It'll be topic I'm going to cover. Well, yeah, that is actually interesting. I don't have firsthand knowledge of butter pad, as you saw. I was surprised to hear it as much as anyone. I don't follow all of the news about cast iron, I'm afraid. So that is very interesting to hear that Yeti has bought butter pat. I'm wondering if that means they will be producing other Yeti products, but I don't know what they would be. Or maybe instead of the way they give their pans names like Joan and anything like that, maybe they will actually have a Yeti series of cast iron skillets besides that one single one. My thought would be that despite all of the people whining about the price of their $400 cast iron skillet, it seems likely that they actually must have sold a few of them, sold enough to encourage Yeti to buy the company. Or maybe Yeti bought the company first and then produced the pan. That might have been a behind the scenes deal that nobody knew about until now. But I'm sure Louis J probably has some interesting information for us on that. Lodge is making long handle walks again. Yeah, I do believe they started doing that a couple of years ago. The thing is, if I understand right, that's a 12-inch walk, which is smaller than their 14-inch walk. But one time, no, I had inherited a 12-inch cast iron wok from my parents after they passed away, and I used it, and I found I did not. Yeah, I found even though was still a 12-inch wok, I found I ended up preferring the 14-inch wok. So as a result, I ended up giving the 12-inch wok to a close friend, and I have been continuing to use the the 14-inch wok. But that's just me. Apparently, a bunch of us have a history of the word refritos, huh? My thought is that they will be even more expensive than before. Well, that is certainly possible. I will say that. Sweating the onions first before adding the beans would save time. Yeah, you're likely right. Unfortunately, I kind of out of instinct added the beans to the pot to the pan. Nonetheless, it looks like this is absorbing the grease very nicely. So I think we can start adding in the bean water, which, as I said, even though it was canned, there we go. So we'll add in a little bit. I haven't even added the seasoning for it yet, which I should probably do, I think, in about a minute or so. Still, this doesn't smell too bad right now. Onions and beans, nothing wrong with that. Beans, the musical fruit. Oh, you get a different texture by adding them later. There is that. Okay, I will acknowledge that, Val. But we will just see how they turn out. As long as they get good and softened, then they should still work well in these burritos. It looks like I've got a nice amount of liquid in here already, although I'm presuming it should reduce soon enough, which again comes to why I'm using lightning, which is a cast iron skillet that has definitely proven itself here in the kitchen. I've mentioned already that not only does lightning here have sand shift markings on the bottom that look like lightning bolts or cracks, but they are not. It also seems to cook food lightning fast. And so, hence, this has earned the name of lightning here. Special thanks, Louis. Yeah, my kids hated onions, had to chop them up fine for chili. Yeah, Louis giving a time zone lesson. Use a potato smasher. That's exactly what I'm going to be doing. Yes. However, at this point, I do have a couple of other things to add to this once I get past the screensaver again. And it has once again scrolled up to the top of this stupid web page. Oh, so now I have to scroll down again and find the actual recipe. Yeah, there it is, finally. Okay. All I have to do at this point, though, apparently, if the screen ever refreshes, thank you, is simply put in some salt, ground cumin, and oregano. So that's easy enough. 1 to 2 teaspoons of salt. Let's throw that in, mix it in as best as we can. Oh, yeah, yeah. Despite the bubbling, it is still taking on a nice consistency here. See here, it's actually not going to be too liquid. I like that. Then we throw in about another 3/4 of a teaspoon or so of cumin. So let me dig out my measuring spoon once again. But yeah, anyway, if I'd known about the Yeti news, I probably would have brought out my butter pat pan. But nonetheless, as I said, this is a night for BS&R. And I know a lot of folks, even Louis J, have quite a few BS&R pans in their collection. And I do encourage folks to, shout out, what do you have for BS&R? Because, that brand is so common, it's likely that almost everyone here may have at least one. whether it might be a Century Series skillet or even just a number 3 skillet, or if you're lucky enough to get something like a BS&R fish fryer, which is actually not, pretty common also. Okay, and then finally, this was about a half teaspoon of oregano or more to taste, it says. Okay, well, I won't overdo it. Whoops, and I kind of overdid it. Oh well. So yeah, these are gonna be some interesting beans, or yeah, an interesting burrito. Oh, good enough. It'll work out. All right. Now from here, it's really just gonna be a matter, as I said, of getting these things soft enough to mash. In fact, I'll just scrape off a little bit of this extra oregano. That was my bad, and that's what I get for not using a measuring spoon. Besides, I'll cough it up again to my cold. My cold is almost gone, finally. I'm still a little bit stuffed up yet, although my ears were popping today. So this should not take too much longer at this point. Some nights when cooking for 3 kids, we had a throwout night. They did not like Spanish rice, so they dumped it out the window in the other room. Ouch. Terry Sinchef, I only have one BS&R pan. It's a number 8 century. And I suspect that number 8 century probably rarely leaves your stovetop. I'm guessing because I don't know your kitchen, but I would not be too surprised, only because the number 8 BS&R, as I said, is a massively useful tool. If you had a BS&R pan and a Lodge pan, it's entirely possible that the BS&R might end up getting more use than the Lodge. Is Lightning an 8 or a 7? It is a 7, in fact. Not a 7S, although I do have a 7S in the other room. I like to put refried beans in a tortilla, add cheddar cheese, onions, hot dog, hot sauce, and a hot dog. That all sounds good, actually. And they will probably be made in China. What, are they going to close down Butter Pat? Ugh. Well, if that's the case, then that's a shame. But we can only see what happens. I think I will add a little bit. Well, I think I will add pretty much the rest of the bean water here. After that, this thing should be soft enough to mash. And then it's just a matter of mixing it around and absorbing it. All right. Also, I don't want to burn it. So there is that too. Just gotta wait, as I said, until the liquid reduces again. However, I have no doubt that these beans are going to be soft enough to mash. That's at least one thing I'm not worried about. When you make lots of food, do you freeze some? Yes, I do. I do freeze some. A lot of times I try to give it away to friends. I don't have any family in this area, but fortunately, I've made a few friends recently who, well, they have enjoyed it. They were here on Monday night, for instance, when we made fried chicken, and they certainly did like that. And I was very pleased to make it for them. All right. So, but yeah, in a lot of cases, I've done my best to try to foist my food onto other people, which, depending on what it is, can be easier than some. Uh, Looking forward to the chance when I'll be able to make a giant cookie again. Hey, they turned off comments on the butter pad announcement. Oh, they were all negative. Ouch. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, John S. Yeah, this is definitely something of a bombshell it's turning out to be. No BS&R in Canada, Shadow Walker. No, that's true. But on the other hand, you should have Canadian brands at least, like Smart, for instance. In which case, then you do have an advantage over us. Even though I know the vintage market has gotten really tough over the last few years, I would say it's probably like that for everyone, not just us folks here. There we go. It's already starting to reduce, which is good. I'd say probably another couple of minutes, and I'll be able to mash these, and then we will move on to the next step. Okay, butter patch shipping warped pans. Oh yeah, I can see butter patch becoming the subject of conversation tonight. That's for sure. I saw some pretty negative rumors about butter patch shipping warped pans on Reddit. cast iron. Who knows if it's true? It's hard to say because, on one hand, gossip, unfortunately, even cast iron gossip, I would really be skeptical of quite a bit of it. There are, of course, some folks we can trust, but others, who knows? I mean, heck, I distinctly remember seeing a post on Reddit cast iron several years ago from someone who claimed their cast iron pans were filled with lead. They were Asian made, of course, but supposedly they had so much lead in them that they failed a lead test or something like that. At least that was allegedly, because of course, funny thing is, we never got any proof of that. If nothing else, I mean, at least we can come back to the fact that Lodge Cast Iron has exceptional world class customer service. Pretty much, not always, but most of the time, folks who send a complaint to Lodge usually get an offer to simply replace their pan. So that is not so bad, which is yet another reason to stick with Lodge. Not just because they're made in the USA, but they have spent 125, I think, or more years really knowing how to run a company. It's one of the many reasons why I love Lodge Cast Iron. Yeah, this is definitely, as you can see, the liquid is definitely reducing on this. In Ontario, Canada, we got about 10-ish I found. Every passed on ones I've got. Oh, okay. Forgot about my deep skillet Century series and a number 8 Dutch oven. Oh yeah, that's right. You do have a deep skillet. That's true. I remember seeing it on a video sometime in the last month. So yes. Okay. Really, it's interesting. I wonder if it's the West Coast versus East Coast. I'm in Vancouver. We also have a BS&R shallow fish fryer. Yeah, and again, this BS&R shallow fish fryer is actually fairly common, if you have patience, of course. But I mean, among vintage cast iron pieces, that one has not been too difficult to find. I've actually found or seen a few of them myself in the wild. I was able to acquire a first generation Sportsman Series fryer. This is definitely getting, I can turn off the heat now. This is definitely getting to the point where I think we can try mashing it. That also means I had better get the handle cover for this. And away we go. I guess the name refried beans sounds more pleasing than mashed beans, even though that's exactly what we do. All right. And the thing is, though, that since these are pinto beans, I'm going to have to get these out of the pan pretty much as soon as possible. Pinto beans are notorious for really stripping the seasoning off of cast iron. There have been tales from many people who have made chili or made other pinto bean dishes, and their seasoning was practically gone. This has only been a few minutes, though, so I don't really expect this to have any kind of a major effect on the seasoning here. But yeah, this has not been difficult at all. And there we go. And these pinto beans were $1 a can in this case at the supermarket tonight. So for $2, got a nice big batch of refried beans. These days, I don't think that's too bad. And what's more, you can go on and on. We made it from scratch, so we know what's in it, etc., etc., etc. But there we go. That did not take too long. Okay, Lodge is very underrated. I've never had an issue with Lodge. I find vintage Lodge and Griswold as well as Wagner, but never BS&R. Why would pinto beans strip seasoning, do you think? It's got to be a chemical reaction. I would have to think it has something to do with, well, just that. Whatever is in the juices of the pinto beans must be particularly either acidic or just reactive. Of course, on the other hand, I'm certainly not telling anyone to stop eating or making pinto beans. because they are quite tasty. So there we go. Yes, indeed. As you said, I did not add the onions first, unfortunately, yet they still seem to have melded in quite nicely. So I don't think this is doing too bad. Maybe another few seconds, then I will get this into the bowl. And thus ends step one. Uh, yeah, I'd had the idea of, as I said, this whole thing with the burritos is something I've been wanting to do for a while because story time again. I've mentioned quite a few times before that I've only been cooking for about the past 13 years now. And during the time before I caught the cooking bug, I would have told you I could not cook to save my life, which means I was a typical 20th century and 21st century Gen Xer. That meant, especially since I did not know how to cook, three guesses as what we mostly had in our fridge. Yep, that's right. Walmart frozen burritos. Also, Walmart frozen pot pies. And finally, Walmart frozen tiny little microwave pizzas. And yes, I know those things are terrible, but they were cheap. And we really didn't know better. So, those three things probably contributed to my getting really fat in the first place. They also were enough to live on. I mean, naturally, it's like our freezer was just filled with those things. And ever since I started cooking for myself, I pretty much vowed never to get those things again. And only once have I broken my vow on that. And that was when, about a year or so ago, I was buying for somebody else who was stocking her kitchen in her new apartment. And she, among other things, had a baby, so she couldn't do a lot of fancy cooking. As a result, I kind of bit the bullet and got her few packages of those frozen burritos. But enough talking. Let's move this over here a little bit. This is not hot, fortunately, but this is. And let's get this into a bowl. There we go. Yeah, this is definitely a good consistency here. It is not watery, that's for sure. Here are our refried pinto beans. Nice. And believe me, if someone like me can make these, anyone can make them. By the way, Zombie Triple X, one of your comments on my video was filtered out and I never even had a chance to read it. I looked for it but could not read it. I read your second comment. I'm still not interested in arguing about politics, and I'm not getting into that tonight. I'm just getting into burritos. Okay, having said that, where did that spoon just go? Oh, I'm holding it. Okay, that means I'll have to use this and scrape the rest of it out of the spoon. But here is the first step, which did not take too long, although I did the prep work before 8 o'clock. All right, part one, refried beans. Now we get down to part two. And despite the fact that it's been coming along nicely, the time is passing here. So let's get going. Okay, that means next comes some ground beef. So all we have to do is wait a couple of seconds for this to heat up. Fortunately, though, there's not much more to making burritos other than the ground beef and the refried beans. So we're actually coming along rather nicely. That's why this is a beef and bean burrito. Birmingham, Alabama, BS&R. Yes, exactly. Okay, Shadow. I've sanded mine myself. I just do not understand why Lodge refuses to do it. But the reason I am convinced, Deep Hell Pal, why does Lodge not grind down their pans anymore? Because this is a business model that saved their company from bankruptcy, quite frankly. It is well known that by the time of the late 1990s, when the other manufacturers had gone out of business, BS&R went out of business in the early 90s. Wagner went out of business in the late 90s. Lodge was struggling to survive, and they were, of course, using all kinds of cost-cutting measures. And so, among other things, they put a big marketing campaign on the idea of pre-seasoning their cast iron pans in order for folks to be able to cook in them as soon as they got them home from the store, so that you did not have to spend the time seasoning a cast iron pan. And that saved the company, quite frankly. They scored big with that marketing strategy. And that was why they actually pretty much redesigned their entire manufacturing process to produce the surface of the Lodge pans that we see today, which they do indeed smooth them down. They are actually not as rough as people say. If you compare a Lodge cast iron pan to, say, an Asian cast iron pan, for instance, you will feel the difference. And I, for one, don't have a problem with that. But nonetheless, that's really the reason why they redesigned their entire manufacturing process to produce Lodge pans that have that kind of a surface. I am not even sure if they have the original grinding machines that were used for grinding down their pans to a smooth surface anymore, since they have essentially rebuilt their entire foundry. Excuse me. I had the lamb mold. Oh, yeah. Did you get the message on mud last night? Okay. I made some last week. I hate sorting them. I got it. Okay. Well, hello, Chris McGee. I'm glad to see you're here. And yes, well, don't worry. You haven't really missed too much. All we've done so far is made refried beans. Pardon me. Like I said, I'm still not over this cold yet, but I'm working on it. If you get a really good season on the pan, it's almost flat. That's certainly true. I do have my first pan, my Lodge Redneck skillet. That's the one I've been using for years now, and it's gotten a surface that is almost as smooth as this Red Mountain series pan skillet right here from BS&R. So, yes, it's a pain, but you also have to remember to soak them. Yeah. The textured pans cook just as well as vintage smooth pans. Yes, that's true, actually. Okay, in regards to the difference between rough surface pans and smooth surface pans, I will say that the smooth surface pans do have a very, very slight advantage. Number one, it feels great to slide your spatula or spoon or whatever it is up over the surface of a smooth pan. I think that, quite frankly, is a lot of the appeal excuse me, of a smooth surface. It feels nice. And I will have to say that the smooth pans, I think they actually do have a very, very slightly better, maybe you could say non-stick consistency than the rougher surface pans. But again, I say very slight. It's long since been proven that yes, Lodge pans, you can get Lodge pans as non-stick as any. You can still cook just about anything in a Lodge pan and it'll still be non-stick. Eggs, omelets, pancakes, you name it. You can cook it in a Lodge pan and there's no problem at all with that. That's one reason why I got Lodge's Black Lock 10-inch skillet, and I use that as a saute pan and a chef skillet. And it's done a great job as far as I'm concerned. All right, this is getting hot enough, which means I think it's time for us to throw in some ground beef. All right, that means, all right, this package here is just under 3 pounds. So I think I can safely do maybe a little bit more than a pound in here. And away we go. There we go. That should be plenty. quickly wipe off my hands here since I was handling that. And once again on my pad, let me check the recipe for these burritos just to be sure. I did make the burrito seasoning earlier tonight. I will say that at least. At least I was that smart. Beef and bean burritos. Here we go. Nice and simple. Brown beef in large skillet, drain if needed. Add remaining ingredients. Well, that was easy. Shit. Although in this case, they could actually call for tomato puree. Maybe I might throw in a little bit, perhaps, of tomato paste. All right. But other than that, at least oh, good. I did all that already. Yay. So let me dig out that spoon once again and my handle. And let's get started here. Speaking of non-stick, you notice I put this ground beef into this Red Mountain pan without any oil or anything like that. And there is no sticking at all. And this, I'm proud to say, means it's a nicely seasoned cast iron pan. It does help, though. Yes, it's true that it is frankly glass smooth. But this would have happened in my large redneck skillet as well, because that has quite a bit of seasoning in it. But yeah, I love this Red Mountain pan. This is definitely what would be one of my desert island pans. That question they always ask: if you had to take 2 or 3 pans to our desert island, what would you take with you? Well, I'd certainly take some kind of a fire source too. That's for sure. Anyway, that's why some boutique pans have a hard time holding seasoning. But don't hold me wrong, I like my smooth vintage pans a lot. All my large skillets got smooth and from using them a lot. It all depends on how polished you get them. Have you ever used cornbread pans or those John Wright's chocolate molds? Well, sort of. I have not yet made molded chocolate, I'm afraid. Although a couple of times I have made homemade Tootsie Rolls in a John Wright pan. In that instance, I sprayed a whole bunch of baker's joint to the pan first before adding the melted candy corn. And it worked, actually. I've got a short video about it. But, all right. I know they say we're supposed to do this until you drain it. I've been chastised for draining the liquid from my ground beef. As they say, if you just simply cook it until it evaporates, then it tastes all the much better. Well, there doesn't seem to be all too much liquid in this pan. In this case, for instance, there's some, but not especially a lot. So all we got to do is just keep on going. And then from here, all we have to do is simply add our seasonings. I'm debating maybe I will throw in perhaps a little bit of tomato just for extra flavor. Because all this is going to be is a beef and bean burrito. All right. I was thinking of how to show off my cast iron stuff, and I remember that potting bench on my porch. Potting bench? I'm trying to remember what you are referring to. Are you referring to a cauldron, perhaps? Well, if you've got a cauldron on your porch, well, then congratulations. And yeah, I would definitely say take it off your porch. And when the weather gets nicer, make a project of restoring it. Show me a John Wright pen, please. Okay. I have a couple over here, and we have a couple of minutes. So let's dig out a couple, shall we? Here is one, and here is another. All right. Although will have to keep an eye on that, yes. However, here is the John Wright gingerbread house, which they made in the 1980s. Yeah, in fact, they made all of these pans in the 1980s. Once again, I have a video on it. I did a video on John Wright pans a few years ago. You should be able to look it up without little difficulty. And here is the John Wright uh, animal cracker mold, which actually has very fancy shapes here for elephant, rhinoceros, and all the rest of that. The thing about John Wright, many but not all of them have a very distinct handle. Shadow here from the camera. They have a very distinct handle. Not all of them do, but quite a few of them do, and that helps to make them easy to identify. I'd heard rumors that there was at least one Asian knockoff. I think it was a teddy bear pan that had a handle similar to John Wright. I think we are already starting to get to that point here. I do believe this ground beef is getting to the point where it is nice and browned, although there is still a fair amount of liquid in the pan yet. All right. Baker's Joy has both oil and flour. Pam is just oil. Okay. Learn something new every day. Those folks who have used a grinder on cast iron pans, they've found for the most part that about 80 grits, that's 80 grit, seems to be about the right level for it. I am not a fan of those cast iron pans that are ground so smooth they have a mirror finish. Because despite what the guys say, I seriously doubt that would hold any kind of seasoning, and it's likely that it would start rusting after a while. Because I have yet to see any videos of those mirror finish pans after several months of use. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should look it up. I'm still putting this around in the pan, and like I said, there isn't especially that much liquid in this. But I suppose if I do it maybe for another minute or so, what liquid is in here should evaporate, which is good because I really don't want greasy burritos. It's also known as baker's goop. Yes, indeed. Baker's goop is a very simple recipe for, especially for baking, hence the name baker's goop. And it is very simple. Equal amounts of flour, oil, vegetable oil, that is. And I'm trying to remember what the third one was. Oh, yeah, shortening. That's it. So, yeah, that's equal amounts. So you could do, like, for instance, 1 tablespoon of each or 2 tablespoons of each. You mix it all together, and then you just liberally grease your pan with the stuff. If you're making a chocolate cake, you might substitute cocoa powder for the flour so that you don't get flour stains on the cake. All right. Well, I'm being patient here, I guess because we have time. So I am not draining the pan. And I have to say, it looks like it's turning out nicely. What I probably should do at this point is look into adding additional seasonings to this. So let me bring this up again. Fortunately, this is a different website. Okay, here's the question of whether or not I should add tomato to this. It mentions a 1/4 cup of tomato puree. Well, I think I'll throw in some tomato paste. Not a 1/4 cup, though. Maybe a couple of tablespoons. Because I definitely want flavor in this. Let's get this out. There's 1 and 2. That should probably be enough, I think. All right, so let's start mixing it all together, shall we? And thank you again, by the way, Louis J. for the field skillet package, which includes this leather handle cover, which I've gotten a whole lot more use out of than I expected. Speaking of the field skillet, and since we're talking about smooth cast iron skillets, I should mention, or repeat rather, something that, again, I did a video about only a couple of weeks ago. Field, in fact, does grind down their pans, but does not give them a glass smooth surface. Instead, they give them a very, very fine grooved surface, like a vinyl record. It is so fine that, yes, you can see it with a naked eye, but you really have to concentrate in order to see it. You can hear it, though. If you run your fingers back and forth across the surface, it definitely feels like a vinyl record. But it looks like a smooth pan. So they are taking that method, and I'm thinking they probably learned a lesson from Lodge, in fact. Oh, that tomato paste is giving a nice color to this stuff. I will say that too. I wonder if I can maybe try to bring this in a little bit so that you folks can have a somewhat better view. So excuse the shaky cam for a moment. There we go. As we're saying, okay, so far all I've added to this is tomato paste, which means it's time for the seasonings. And yay, I am so glad I put all those seasonings together at once, because here they come. All right. And now we mix it in. I mixed those seasonings together at the very beginning of this live, and I will say again, they are your usual stuff. Salt, chili powder, coriander, garlic powder, cumin, a little bit of cayenne, and black pepper. It also mentions mixing in some onion. So let's do that as well. Yeah, this is starting to smell like a burrito, that's for sure. All right, where did I put the rest of that onion? Here we go. I probably still don't need all of this. And there we go. Yeah, definitely. I would say the hard part was making the refried beans. So yeah, if you just get refried beans in a can, there you go. You will have yourself some burritos with very little difficulty. Because, yep, there we go. Beef and bean. It also means, in addition to this, I should start clearing off my workspace so that I can prepare the burritos. Ugh. Means let me get these jar right pans back out of the way. Thanks, you too. Clean a couple of other things off my workspace, like this and that. There we go. Oops. Oh, damn it. I minimized the browser. Fortunately, I did not actually close it. That would not have been good. Okay. So far, so good. All right. Where were we? Terry Sinchav, Lydia Bastianish, I can't pronounce it, says to cook your tomato paste in a hot pan. I used to just put it into a tomato sauce. All of that sounds good. Well, yeah, that's because, of course, if you cook it in a hot pan, you get the Maillard reaction, whether it's meat or tomato paste or vegetables or anything like that. It definitely does sear, and it definitely does take on an additional bit of flavor. Like I'm starting to get a little bit of sticking on the bottom of this pan, which definitely means that the liquid has dissolved. So I would say we are probably ready at this point, which also means that takes care of pan number 2. Let me dig out another bowl then, and this beef will go into the second bowl. All right. Turn this off for the moment. Okay. So far, we are 2 for 2 at this point. And this is very hot, too. Nice little crunchy bits. All right. That's number 2. Which means there is our beef. We've done our beans, and now we have our beef. Which means the last part will be to get out the last pan, which will be to heat up the tortillas when they're ready. However, especially since this stuff is still screaming hot, I think I had better, well, this can go into the sink. I should throw this ground beef into the fridge, get it out of the way. Try to move all these ingredients out of the way, because again, I don't want too much clutter, which also means time to head back to our workspace. All right. I think maybe I'll raise this a little bit. There we go. So that way you'll have something of a view here. And while this beef is cooling off, this may give me a moment, perhaps, to try chopping up the tomato and a little bit of lettuce. Although I better get a dish for that before I do. All right, we don't need too much of that. Pardon me. Yeah, come on. Yeah, fresh out of the bag for whatever that's worth. Okay, meanwhile, what else do we have here? Frank's hot sauce. Yes, BS&R square. Show off another pan. Well, yeah, actually, I guess I am. All right. Not going to need very much tomato, that's for sure. I intentionally chose a Roma tomato with the thick skin so that it would be easier to simply cut up like this. Gotta be careful. This is a sharp knife, I'm proud to say. Okay. Now, where did my scraper go? Here it is. Okay, so we've got a little bit of tomato here, and the rest of this I'll just eat. I love tomatoes. Also, the tomato feels good in the back of my throat, which, as I mentioned, is still not entirely recovered yet. Come on, there we go. From this cold. Definitely need to eat more raw vegetables, that's for sure. Let's throw in a little bit, maybe about that much lettuce. Put the rest of this back in the bag. And very quickly and carefully, careful, plastic, don't want plastic. All right. No, I am not a professional chef. I've said that enough times, so I cannot do the 30 chops per second chop. And unfortunately, I still instinctively draw my fingers away from the knife. I'm not good enough to put my fingers up against the knife. I haven't had any major injuries yet with my knife, and I hope it stays that way. And it accomplishes the job at least. Where the heck did I put the scraper again? Okay. All right, there we go. And by now, this should certainly have helped us wait for for the beef to cool off, because now we get down to the last part. All right, hooah. Paper towel. Put the knife away. Okay. Knife sharpening is a whole other issue. Yes, it is. That's yet another thing I've been practicing for a long time and still have not gotten it that good. How do I sharpen my knives? You know, to be absolutely honest, every time I wash my knife, I hone it, and that certainly helps. I have had this thing uh, sharpened a couple of times. Once I regret it because the person I trusted to sharpen it actually did a terrible job. If you look carefully here, um, you'll see there is a little bit of a shadow underneath underneath the right here under the blade. The person who sharpened it, regrettably, did not actually make this thing perfectly straight, unfortunately. But yes, what I usually do is just this. I do this about 20 times every time I wash the knife. And that at least has helped to keep it sharp. Although I do agree that I need to find a knife sharpener in my area, a professional knife sharpener, and take my stuff to him. Hold the tip of the knife with thumb and handle and try to chop up small bits. If you can read, you can cook. Pretty much, yes. Nothing wrong with keeping those digits intact. Exactly. So, okay. Meanwhile, I do believe we're finally ready. Oh, yeah. Before I forget, BS&R square pan. Better start heating this up. I only need to put it on a low heat. I don't need to make it screaming hot. And this, for the record, again, is a BS&R square skillet from their Century series. And in fact, it has a rougher surface, much similar to a modern day Lodge as opposed to the glass smooth surface of the Red Mountain days. So, yes, BS&R was making rough surface pans as well. All right. Now that we've done that, I guess it's time to start laying out a couple of tortillas. And we will go from there. I can figure out how to undo this thing. Boy, I have to say, it certainly wrapped this thing better than you might think. There we go. Also, it's not a large tortilla, so I'm going to have to make small burritos, which means let's start laying it on, shall we? Actually, I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to lay out the beef or the bean first. Let's see what it says here. In fact, directions: wrap filling. Oh, that doesn't help much. Wrap filling into tortilla with your choice of cheddar cheese. Oh, good point. Thank you for the reminder. I gotta dig out some cheddar. Gotta dig out some cheese from the fridge. All right. There we go. Since it doesn't say precisely, or maybe I was supposed to mix this together. I'm betting I was supposed to actually mix the beef and the beans together. That would actually make sense. So rather than just simply throw them all into one, I guess we'd better get out another small bowl. and mix it in that way. Yeah, because why not? I'm gonna have a big mess after all this. Might as well have yet another bowl. Shit. And let's do it this way. Some beef and some bean. Yeah, I'm thinking this is probably, in fact, how they do it at Wally World. Not by hand, but they don't add them separately. They just mix it all together into a mash like this. In fact, I think this would probably hold together better, in fact, in the burrito. So yeah, okay. She just doubts herself too much. I like to use a stone for sharpening. I have 3 different stones. Nice. All right. A grocery store butcher shop here will sharpen knives for customers. Ask in your area. I'm at the point where I read recipes and adjust before I make them. Yeah, that's actually a good thing to do if you feel you can trust yourself enough to do that. Um, like for instance, this is a pretty simple recipe. I'd say making adjustments should not be a problem. Anyway, at this point, all we do is uh, all we do is lay a little bit out, maybe a little bit more, but not much more. Because, like I said, this is a pretty small tortilla here. Come on, be nice. And this is number one. And to this, let us top it with, actually, not lettuce yet. Rather, let us top it with a little bit of cheddar cheese. A little bit of this tomato. Don't need to do a lot. This is similar to what I did last week when I made those egg roll hamburger wraps and a little bit of lettuce. Now, here comes the fun part. You got to try to wrap this thing without it falling apart. And I'm hoping, in fact, I didn't overstuff it. But you know what? I do believe we have it. There we go. We have enough of it that now that we've done this, kind of, even though the ends are coming apart, I didn't wrap it very well. Let's head back over to the stove where I have been slowly heating this pan up. And on we go. And it's giving a little bit of a hiss already. So I think we're good. And all we really need to do is brown this, so that it hardens. All right. I just fold in half and pray I don't lose too much. Yes, exactly. Bring out the cerveza. I actually don't know what a cerveza is, I'm sorry to say. That looks like a street taco shell. Okay. All right. Well, meanwhile, uh, okay, let's dig out the spatula here because I'm not a fan of burning my fingers. All right. Oh, this looks like it looks like the pan is definitely big enough, and these things are small enough that I'll be able to do two at a time at least. So we are not doing too badly here. And I've got plenty of beef. And this was only a little bit more than a pound of beef, 2 cans of the beans, and it looks like I'm gonna easily have a whole bunch of tortillas. Actually, in fact, besides the spatula, might even want to get my tongs out. Oops, careful here. All right. But nonetheless, there we are. As I said, my whole point was to try to make burritos from scratch, which hopefully should taste better than Walmart frozen burritos. And I'm thinking that they should. Oh yes. After that, I'll add sour cream later. I was debating mixing sour cream into this, but I'm thinking we should probably simply top it with sour cream. All right. The other question though is how am I supposed to do this on its side? Oh, okay. Hey, it works. We got a little bit of browning here. All right. Not bad for a starter. As I said, I will make two next. And then I do believe we'll be on our way to having some burritos. Don't want it to come apart. But still, there we go. Oh, I actually forgot to get a plate with the finished burritos. So let's do it. Dig that out. Here is, well, here's a start. Here is burrito number one. Yay. And as I said, if someone like me can do this, anyone can do it. So, yeah, I'd say we're on a roll here. This actually was, thank goodness, easier than I expected. Yeah, I was actually a little worried about rolling out those tortillas, but they held. Whoops, careful. But they held together nicely. And yeah, I do feel that mixing the beef and the beans together was the right thing to do. Okay. Have you been in contact with old roommate? I'm afraid not. There's been reasons why not, ones that I do not go into on the internet. I'm very sorry to say. On one hand, I miss her. On the other hand, there are things that I absolutely cannot talk about on on the internet. So I would very much regret that. All right, which means now we get to number two. Yeah, I'm sorry to say, I do have my own personal drama too, like everybody does. I make a point of not spreading it around on the internet. There's some people who live for talking on the internet about their personal drama, get all kinds of attention and other stuff from it. Well, that's just how they are. Me, I guess, I try to stay out of trouble like that. Lately, instead, I've been getting in trouble with politics. Oh well. Which reminds me, after I'm done with this series, I'm going to try some cooking from banned books and see what happens next. All right. So what did I do now? Oh yes, that's right. We do this, do the cheese, and like I said, I was going to do two of these. And since that pan is getting hotter, got to be careful. But still, here's a little bit of cheese, tomato. Come on, you know what? I could always chop up another tomato if I have to. And lettuce. A little bit more lettuce, in fact. There we go. Now that we've done that carefully, where did I just put that fork? There it is. I had to stuff this in order to get it to fit. And I'm still trying to stuff it in. Good thing this tortilla is actually pretty sturdy here. All right, well, sort of sturdy. Okay, I hope it doesn't come apart while I do the second one. Yeah, here's the part where pretty much everything usually screws up. All right, the next one, spread it out. As you can see, I'm not even using a lot of the well, beef and bean in this. That was again cheese. Tomato. And lettuce. Now comes another attempt. Put the extras on there. Now comes another attempt. Excuse me, to wrap it up. Putting that fork far away here. I can see I need it to stuff this. Hold it all in. All right, more or less, even though this one's coming apart as well, which means only one thing. We put these into the pan with the fold side down. You need to come to Texas. I'll help you fill that taco just right. Yes, exactly. So, yeah, as you can see, this is yet another thing I'm not very good at. Oops, this is starting to change color. I better turn this down a little bit. I don't want to burn this when it goes on there. Here's one. And here's two. In fact, I better turn the heat down so that it doesn't burn. Do you like Indian food? Yes, I have eaten Indian food a number of times. I've made a couple of very basic Indian dishes. I haven't gotten anything too elaborate, but I do indeed like it. In fact, I have a big bag of basmati rice that I especially like making. Yeah, there's a joke about Indian cuisine. Okay, to make this dish, you need 500 different spices, and there's a god for every one. I like my tomato, lettuce, and sour cream on the side, and lots of it. That all sounds good. Anyway, once again, this is the BS&R um, square skillet from their Century series. So this is actually a second one that I only acquired not too long ago. I had a first one, and I gave that one away and then regretted it. And where the heck did I put those tongs? Here they are. Come on. Uh-oh. Come on. Hope I'm not. Hope it's not. I hope the pan's not too hot. Come on, you bugger. Ah, damn it. There we go, more or less. Yep, it's too hot. I goofed. It's too hot. I'm turning it off, in fact, to let it cool down right now. All right. The first one turned out nicely. This one was too hot. So as I said, I've actually turned it off right now to cool it down. My bad. In fact, the second side is browning already, even though it's turned off. So, well, at least it's still folded together. That's the best I could say, I think. My bad. There's nothing else I can say but my bad. Oh well, I'll eat those bad boys. Chili omelets sound really good. Shit. They will eat just the same. Yes, exactly. I like a little char and food. I know, I know. Thank you for being charitable, folks. I admit I did overheat it and unfortunately kind of burned the top slightly. Well, I'll just have to keep on practicing, and the next two will be a little less like this. I think I'll do two more, and then we'll probably call it a night, in fact. Largely because, well, even though I've got more of them to make, I'd say we've really accomplished everything we set out to do here. All right, we use the taco shells for PBJs. Nice. It happens. It will be good. Yes, exactly. I had the same problems that everybody does. Well, definitely. I mean, as I've already said tonight, I'm not a professional here. I've never called it. I've never claimed to be a professional. I'll probably never will be a professional. On the other hand, what I am is a hobbyist, and I'm quite happy with being one. All right, so now I've got to make at least a couple more that are not burned. Yeah. Where did that handle cover go now? Here it is, because I have no doubt I'm going to need it. Get these extra bits out before they burn. And we will do this one more time. And now I'm going to put the heat back on, but only on the very lowest setting. And I hope I don't ruin it that way. We'll go one last time here. Hello, Cynthia Wesley. Well, no, I don't blame you. I would definitely say get those dishes done, especially if you feel that your power may be at risk. I mean, I think dishes take priority from watching YouTube. So go ahead. Likewise, I could say that to anybody who has something urgent to do. This is not that important. I appreciate having you here, folks, though. The Walmart beef and bean burritos don't even have the tomatoes and the cheese and everything like that. All they have is just this bean slop mixed in, and well, just that, cooked like that. But on the other hand, since we have the opportunity to be a little bit fancier, then we can certainly do that. Especially since I'm not even really using a lot of cheese. I'm not using a lot of tomatoes, and I'm not using a lot of lettuce. So this actually kind of stretches it out a little bit, which is also nice. All right. And let's try again, shall we? All right. Based on that last time, I think I won't try being fancy, and I'll just fold it over like this. Yeah, there we go. That wasn't so bad. Looks like it's staying like that too. Let's get out another one. Besides, we are just about out here anyway. Even though I have plenty to make more, this, I do believe, will be the last one for the night. But as I said, I'm hoping that I'll be able to do a series of at least 3 of these videos, where essentially I hope I've done Walmart one better. So that rather than rather than nuking one of those frozen microwave burritos from Walmart, I think I'll put in a little bit more beef. Instead, we do that right. Instead, we've made this from scratch. So even though I haven't tasted it yet, I have little doubt that this is going to taste decent. And that is what I'm really looking forward to, especially with the shredded cheese, the tomato, and the lettuce. All right, now, like I said before, I keep losing that fork. Instead of trying to triple fold it, I will just simply fold it over this way. There we go. All right, now that we've done that, back to the pan one more time. Kind of cheese is that? Just your simple, basic, sharp cheddar cheese. You can, of course, use whatever cheese you want. There we go. That's a little better view. All right, and again, I'm putting it on fold down. There we go. Now it's only giving a slight hiss. So hopefully it's not going to burn this time, especially not even if I take, yeah, if I if I watch it. So scramble an egg and use the rest for breakfast. We can certainly do that too. So cold that even the internet doesn't want to work. My condolences, Val. Watch out for that power. Poor Papa and Mrs. Cindy. Yes, exactly. I wasn't being charitable. I like charred bratwurst, hot dogs, tortillas, vegetables, etc. Well, you were very nice, Celine, 77. Thank you very much. But this, despite the fact that I made a mess in the kitchen yet again, but that's largely because I did everything from scratch, including those refried beans, which were very easy to do for the record, folks. I mean, if you've never made refried beans before, you may want to consider that because that was not difficult. And it may very well be better than the canned stuff. There we go. Much better. All right, this time I'm just watching it to be sure it doesn't burn. You can make any ingredients into burritos. That's certainly true. Yes, this one just happens to be the beef and bean. I was never a fan of spicy food, which is why, the ones you buy at Walmart, the other options are typically the spicy burrito, which has probably cayenne and the usual stuff mixed into it. And then the third one, I think, was their veggie burrito. But I was always a big fan of the beef and bean, which is why I'm looking forward to having these tonight too. Hmm. Sold. Well, thank you very much for him, Morris. Yeah, they are mild. I wasn't okay. But nonetheless, as I said, there we are. Here are our burritos, which again should be at least a little bit better than Walmart. Terry Sinchef, last week I bought some extra sharp cheddar from Cheddar England. Wow, that sounds pretty darn good. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's always quality ingredients that make the difference. No question about that. Even though I'm hardly using really world-class quality ingredients here. I use typical supermarket ground beef. I used pre-shredded cheese, and I used canned pinto beans. I still have no doubt that this is still going to be much better than those Walmart frozen burritos. Granted, it didn't take 2 minutes to nuke it. It took us about really an hour and a half to prepare it. But that's how it goes. That's one reason. That's the trade-off when it comes to store-bought versus homemade. Homemade is better. Store-bought is more convenient. I mean, I can't deny that either. I think I can even turn the heat back up a little bit. I like to top a burrito with salsa, sour cream, lettuce, tomatoes, and I can't read that. Sliced black olives, all of which sounds good. I'm just doing very basic stuff here tonight, largely because I only have so much time, as well as only so many resources. But so far, I do like how these have turned out, which is why next week's video, as I said, we're going to go do part 2 of those things that you always, that people get at Walmart. And that would be the pot pies. So we will be doing a pot pie next week in cast iron. And that I made before. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. And then finally, the third night after that, the third Wednesday after that, it will be pizza night. Oh, what a gourmet you are, Terry. I wish I could get some of the hoop cheese my grandpa used to sell. Nice. Mm. Yeah, you're definitely making me envious too. I will say that. I'm envious of the people who have access to these kind of wonderful ingredients. Um, in a way, that's why, yeah, I am really kind of envious as well, and yet at the same time, sarcastic about these YouTube chefs who throw these ridiculously expensive and fancy ingredients together and do all kinds of crazy things with them just for the hell of it. Heck, you know what? Just for tonight, we're gonna throw some $100 Wagyu beef together into this pan and see what we get. If we mix it up with these vanilla beans at $5 a pop and top it all off with Parmesan from this $200 Parmesan wedge, just for the heck of it. Why not? Yeah, it must be nice to be able to afford something like that. Even so, I'm at least I know I'm just simply in the same boat as a number of people, which means I try to cook on a budget, and I like to think I do the best I can. But the results actually are not so bad because here we go, folks, at least, including the two charred ones. All right, I will turn the pan off for now. Here are our burritos. And there we go. Burrito, beef and bean burritos made in BS&R, Birmingham Stove Range pans. We did refried beans in one, the ground beef in another, and the burritos themselves in a third. We have a store named Premier that has all kinds of cheeses from around the world. Ooh, that all sounds good. And thank you very much for him, Morris. But yeah, as I said, I really liked making those refried beans. They were not hard at all to make. If there's any part of this recipe I would encourage folks to do, I know you've already made your own tortillas, most of you at least, or your own burritos. But I would indeed say try doing the refried beans yourself and see how they turned out and see what you think. I think this may very well be something of an improvement. Excuse me for 1 second. Ugh, just taking a sip of water to wet my throat here. Is that a leather handle holder? Yes, it is. In fact, this is a leather holder from a field cast iron skillet. In fact, that was fortunate enough to be provided. Oh, I can actually. This thing's pretty warm at this point, and I have already burned or scorched some of this one already. But I'm definitely enjoying it, and if I have the chance to acquire another leather handle cover, I'm certainly going to do so. My burrito game is worse than the store-bought Walmart. Oh, I don't know, Handsome Stone. I mean, this wasn't so difficult. Make a project of that and do a burrito night and see how they turn out. Because, well, as I said, this is, of course, a lot of fun. I mean, I could say that almost every night. I mean, every time here. I mean, granted, I have had a couple of dishes here on Cast Iron Wednesday turn out not so great. Yet, uh, tonight was actually pretty satisfying, I think. I mean, I'm happy with how these burritos turned out. I have a couple more to make yet because I'm going to be presenting them to friends. But nonetheless, there we go. And as always, though, I can only thank everybody for your time and for your attention and for being kind enough to join me here tonight. Because, yeah, we are indeed ready to go. It is, once again, it is a Wednesday night, it's a work night, and we do have the rest of the week to go. But if nothing else, I'm glad to have had a chance to entertain you and maybe inspire you to doing a little bit of cooking yourself, if for no other reason than to show me how to do it and to just show how much better you are than I am. And I'm not being sarcastic about that. Many of you are better than I am. So, well, thank you very much as well, Val's Black Cats Rules. Yes. And thank you so much, Kimberly Miller and William Hurt and Cynthia Wesley. And again, so thank you again, Celine77, Terry Sinchef. I use canned refried beans and I like to boil dried beans for a better taste. Okay, but yeah, make a hot toddy for your throat and go to bed. I'm probably going to be doing that, in fact. But nonetheless, the show must go on, and so we are going to continue again next week. Like I said, I'm going to try to stick with this. And next week we will take on the Walmart pot pie, those little tiny little banquet pot pies, and see if we can't outdo that. Yeah, I'm not exactly saying the bar very high, am I? I have little doubt that we're going to be able to make ourselves a really nice pot pie next week, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. So thank you very much. And yes, as Val's Black Cats, we'll see you all next live. And thank you. And have a good night, everybody. Thank you very much for coming by. And once again, especially since we are finally on time tonight, see you next Wednesday.